Welcome to NeoCat AI, where dreams begin with a gentle purr and sweet bedtime stories from Neo, the Chubby Orange Cat. Each night, Neo takes us to a soft and sleepy world, where the moon sings, blankets are shared, and magic lives inside crayon boxes. Snuggle in, close your eyes, and let's begin a brand new adventure with Neo. Neo and the Missing Moon. It was a still, quiet night. The wind hummed gently through the trees, crickets whispered in the grass. Somewhere far away, an owl blinked slowly, perched on an old branch. Neo, the chubby orange cat with a red scarf around his neck, stretched his paws on the roof tiles. Every night, he climbed up to the top of the house just to sit still and look at the sky. Stars were his favorite. But even more than that, Neo loved the moon. The moon always made him feel small, but in a good way, like someone was always watching over him. But tonight, the moon was gone. Neo's ears twitched. He tilted his head. "That can't be right," he mumbled, his tail flicking once. "She's always here." He sat up straighter, eyes wide. The sky was filled with stars, so many of them, twinkling and blinking like sleepy eyes, but not a single sign of the round, glowing friend he called Sister Moon. Neo blinked again. Maybe he was early? No, he was never early. He had a perfect bedtime routine. Dinner, wash face, scarf check, climb roof, greet moon. But she wasn't here. "Maybe she's hiding," he whispered. Without another thought, Neo jumped down onto the fence below. His little paws made soft sounds on the wood. The night was chilly, but he barely noticed. He had a mission now. First stop, Mr. Owl. Neo padded into the garden where the big oak tree stood. High up, almost touching the sky, sat Mr. Owl, wise and a little cranky. "Mr. Owl," Neo called softly, "have you seen the moon?" The owl turned his head slowly, blinking twice before answering. "No moon tonight, just stars. Go home, cat." "But she's never missed a night," Neo replied. Said the owl, turning back around. "Maybe she needed a nap." Neo frowned. "Sister Moon doesn't nap? She glows." Back to the fence he went, hopping from post to post like an orange balloon with paws. Next stop, the pond. The frogs were already asleep. The ducks floated silently in the dark water, feathers fluffed and eyes closed. But near the edge of the pond sat Little Duckling, wide awake and staring at the water. "Hi," Neo whispered. "You're up late too?" Little Duckling nodded. "Couldn't sleep, no moon tonight, the water looks sad." Neo sat beside her. "Did she say anything to you? Like she wasn't feeling well?" Little Duckling shook her head. "She just didn't come. I waited and waited." Now Neo's whiskers drooped. He looked up again. Stars still there, moon still not. He sighed. Maybe the moon was angry? Or tired of being stared at every night? Or maybe someone took her? Neo stood up quickly. "I have to find her." "But where would she go?" asked Little Duckling. Neo didn't know, but he was determined. He searched the flower fields, sniffed through the bushes, peeked into the rabbit holes. Nothing. Finally, he made his way to the top of Windy Hill. It was the highest place around. If the moon was hiding, maybe she'd be here, just out of sight. He climbed carefully. The grass was tall, brushing his belly. Fireflies lit the way like tiny floating lanterns. At the top, he stood still, closed his eyes, took a deep breath. Then something moved. A soft wind pushed a large cloud across the sky. And there, just behind it, was a gentle silver glow. Neo's eyes lit up. "Sister Moon," he gasped. "You were just covered?" The cloud drifted past, and the full round moon finally appeared, smiling quietly down at him. She had been there all along, just hidden behind the cloud's soft curtain. Neo sat down in the grass. "I thought I lost you." The moon didn't answer. She just bathed him in light, wrapping his fur in silver. He smiled. "I guess not everything missing is truly gone. Sometimes you just need to wait, or look a little harder." And with that, Neo curled up under the moonlight, the red scarf around his neck fluttering softly. The world below him was quiet. The moon above him was bright. And Neo, the chubby orange cat, finally closed his eyes, knowing the sky was whole again. Neo and the blanket he shared. The night was getting colder. Leaves fluttered down from sleepy trees. The wind hummed a quiet lullaby through the windows. Inside the house, Neo, the chubby orange cat, curled up on his favorite pillow, wrapped in his soft red blanket. It was warm. It was cozy. It smelled like naps and sunshine. Neo purred. The stars blinked one by one outside. The world was slowing down. But then, tap, tap! A tiny noise scratched at the glass door. Neo's ears twitched. He opened one eye. Nothing. Tap, tap, tap! Now he sat up. He padded over to the door, dragging a corner of his red blanket behind him. Outside stood a kitten, small, thin, with ears too big for his head. His fur was soaked. His eyes were wide. Neo blinked. The kitten blinked back. Without thinking, Neo pushed his paw against the door. Click! The door creaked open just enough. Cold air rushed in. The kitten hesitated, then stepped inside, dripping tiny puddles on the floor. Neo didn't speak. He didn't have to. He turned, walked back to his pillow, and laid down again. The kitten followed, a few steps behind, shivering. Neo watched him. The kitten stood awkwardly, not sure what to do. He looked at the pillow. He looked at the blanket. Then back at Neo. Neo understood. He stretched one paw and flipped the blanket open, just enough space for two. The kitten's eyes lit up. He tiptoed forward and crawled into the warm spot beside Neo. At first, the kitten didn't know how to lie still. He wiggled, he squirmed, his tail tickled Neo's nose, but eventually he settled, curled up, quiet. Neo gave a soft sigh, his eyes half closed, but sleep didn't come right away. He looked at the kitten beside him. He was still damp, basaf, his fur sticking up like grass after rain. So Neo stood up slowly, walked into the kitchen, and returned with a soft towel in his mouth. He nudged the kitten gently and started to dry him off, little by little, like how Mia used to dry Neo when he was small. The kitten didn't move, just closed his eyes and purred softly. When he was dry, Neo tucked the towel under him and lay down again, wrapping the blanket around both of them. Now the room was warm again. Safe. The wind whispered outside, tapping gently against the glass, but inside there was only the quiet sound of two cats breathing, side by side. After a while, Neo whispered, "Where were you going?" The kitten didn't open his eyes. "Nowhere." "Where did you come from?" "Somewhere." Neo nodded. That was enough. They lay in silence for a long time. Then the kitten asked, "Why did you let me in?" Neo blinked slowly. "Because you knocked." The kitten was quiet for a moment. "Most people don't open the door." Neo thought about that. Then he said, "Most people don't wear red scarves either." The kitten smiled. He shifted closer, resting his head against Neo's warm belly. Neo didn't mind. He reached one paw and pulled the blanket tighter around them both. "You can stay tonight," he murmured. "Just tonight." The kitten didn't answer. He was already asleep. Neo stayed awake just a little longer. He watched the stars through the window, listened to the hush of the night. Then he looked down at the kitten again. "Maybe 2 nights," he whispered. The blanket was old, a little worn at the edges, but somehow it felt bigger than before. Neo and the Great Crayon Rescue. The sun was yawning. Golden light stretched through the windows of Little Leaf Preschool. Toys lay scattered on rugs. Picture books snoozed open on beanbags. The only sound was the ticking of the sleepy wall clock. Outside the fence, curled up in a soft pile of leaves, was Neo, the chubby orange cat with a red scarf and a heart as big as his paws. Neo loved this time of day. The world felt slower, softer, sleepier, but not today. Today, something was wrong. From the classroom came a small sniffle, then a louder one. And then, a tiny voice cried, "They're gone." Neo perked up. He tiptoed closer to the window and peeked through. Inside, Mia, his favorite tiny human, was kneeling on the floor beside an open art box. Crayons were spilled everywhere, except for one thing. Her favorite rainbow set was missing. Neo narrowed his eyes. This was a job for Detective Paws. With one hop, he squeezed through the cat flap into the hallway and padded softly across the floor. No one saw him. They were all too busy searching under cushions and tables. Neo sniffed the floor near the art box. Crayon scent. Sweet, waxy, familiar. He followed the smell past the snack table, under the coat hooks, and out the back door. The trail curved around the playground and stopped beneath the big red slide. And there they were. A trail of crayon marks, red, blue, yellow, leading into the bushes. Neo crouched low. Slowly, quietly, carefully, he pushed his way into the leaves. What he saw next made his tail twitch. Sitting in a circle were the 3 raccoon siblings from next door. Their paws were covered in color. The rainbow crayons lay scattered between them. They were drawing on rocks. Neo stared. One of them, Rosie, the smallest, was trying to draw a flower, but it looked more like a lopsided jelly bean. Neo said, stepping forward. "Those crayons belong to Mia." The raccoons froze. "We just borrowed them," said Rico, the oldest, jumping up. Rosie held her crayon tight. "We didn't mean to steal." Neo didn't hiss. He didn't pounce. He just sat down. "She cried," he said softly. "Mia cried." The raccoons looked at one another. "We just wanted to draw like her," Rosie whispered. Neo looked at the rock drawings. They were messy, but full of effort. He could tell they tried. He sighed. "Well," he said, flicking his tail, "if you give them back now, maybe we can fix this." Rico nodded. "Okay." The raccoons gathered the crayons carefully and placed them back into their box. Neo picked it up with his mouth and turned to go, but then paused. He looked back. "Tomorrow," he said, "come to the fence. I'll bring paper." Rosie's eyes lit up. "Really?" Neo gave a small nod. "Everyone should get to draw." Back inside, he returned the rainbow crayons to Mia's table. She gasped. "They're back!" No one saw Neo disappear under the coat rack, but he watched as Mia smiled again, holding up her purple crayon like a magic wand. That night, under a sky full of stars, Neo sat on the windowsill, purring softly. Sometimes, being a hero meant chasing raccoons. Sometimes it just meant knowing when to share. Neo and the cloud that wouldn't move. It had been cloudy all day. Not the kind of clouds that danced or played peekaboo with the sun. These clouds were heavy, thick, gray like wet socks left on a porch. Neo sat on the windowsill, chin resting on the wooden ledge, his red scarf drooping like his mood. He missed the light, the sky, the feeling of sunbeams on his whiskers. He let out a small sigh, not a dramatic one, just enough to fog up a tiny patch of glass. Then, drip, a raindrop hit the window, then another and another. Neo blinked slowly. "Well," he murmured, "there go the butterflies." He had planned a garden patrol today. Chase a few bugs, nap under the hydrangeas, maybe watch the birds fluff themselves in puddles. Now, just water and mud and more water. Neo climbed down from the window and plodded into the living room, his belly brushing the rug as he walked. Mia was inside building a castle out of blocks. She glanced up, gave him a smile, then went back to stacking a purple turret. Neo didn't feel like playing. He flopped onto a pillow and rolled over, staring at the ceiling. That's when he noticed something. The sky wasn't getting darker, but it wasn't getting brighter either. The same thick gray sat outside, as if frozen in place. He narrowed his eyes. "I've seen clouds move," he said to himself. "They float, they stretch, they go places. But not this one. This one just hovered, for hours. At snack time, at story time, even when the lights dimmed for nap time, it stayed, like it was stuck." When Mia fell asleep curled in a blanket fort, Neo slipped outside. The air was cool, damp. The grass squished under his paws. He padded to the middle of the yard, looked up, and frowned. "All right, Cloud," he said, "what's going on?" Of course, the cloud didn't answer, so Neo did what any serious cat would do. He climbed the tallest tree in the yard, branch by branch, wiggle by wiggle, until he stood on the very top, balancing like a furry orange acrobat. Still, the cloud didn't move. Neo stared at it. "Are you lost?" Silence. Or sad. A breeze passed, slow and lazy. Neo tilted his head. "Maybe you're waiting for something." Then he had a thought. He turned, climbed down the tree, and disappeared into the house. A few minutes later, he returned with a red balloon. Well, not a real balloon. It was Mia's play balloon, made of cloth and string, but it puffed in the breeze like a real one. Neo climbed the tree again, tied the balloon to the highest branch, and sat beside it. "There," he said, "you're not alone." The balloon wobbled. The breeze grew just a little stronger, and slowly, very slowly, the cloud began to drift. Just a little. Neo's eyes widened. He stood up and waved his paw. "You can do it." The cloud moved again, this time with purpose. It slid past the edge of the sky, trailing streaks of silver. Neo grinned. By the time he climbed down, sunlight peeked through the branches. The grass sparkled. A single butterfly floated by. Neo followed it for a moment, then stopped to look back. The sky was clear again. Back inside, Mia was just waking up. She rubbed her eyes, then smiled when she saw the light pouring through the window. Neo curled up beside her, his red scarf warm and dry once more. And that was tonight's adventure with Neo, the chubby orange cat with a warm heart. If your heart feels a little cozier and your eyes close a little easier, then Neo has done his job well. Subscribe to NeoCat AI to join Neo on many more gentle, dreamy journeys. Sleep tight, little ones, and dream of wonderful things.